Coming up on today's wrestling news, CM Punk on WrestleMania. Even though I'm hurt, I'm still in the mix.
There was a shock AEW title defense somewhere not in America this weekend.
Former WWE superstar Velveteen Dream returns to the ring.
And we've got an update on the disappearance of yet another AEW star.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
I'm Michael Sidgwick.
And this still is the news. We start with the Punker. It's a nice place to start. He was speaking to TNT Sports yesterday. Caroline Pierce did an interview with him backstage at UFC 298. He's obviously still got the bicep all gimmicked up, as we've seen on screen here and there. And he was speaking about his injury, his recovery, and of course, WrestleMania. The quote, he goes into a bit of detail on his rehab. Calls himself clumsy, makes a little joke about how he's already torn his left tricep and his right one got jealous, and how he's still thinking it's going to be 6 to 8 months, but he says he's not in a rush to get back to compete. He's in a rush to get healthy, to get better, and the sooner he does, the better it'll be when he comes back. Now, he was asked, of course, about WrestleMania, about The Rock and everything like that, and he said, quote, WrestleMania is a 2-night event now. The Rock coming back only helps. It's bigger than ever. A high tide raises all ships, and even though I'm hurt, I'm still in the mix. My mouth still works. Obviously, CM Punk cut that promo while he was injured. It set up something with Drew McIntyre, presumably when he returns. But there's been lots of speculation about him possibly doing some commentary, coming back and doing promos here and there. A WrestleMania commentary appearance feels likely and possible, doesn't it, at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just my subjective take on things. If I'm WWE and I'm CM Punk, I would limit these appearances. Obviously, the man is absolutely incredible. It's one of his famous sound bites, but he pretty much is the best on that in that ring, on that microphone, even on commentary. The guy's unbelievable at it, but at the same time, you don't want to make it feel like CM Punk backstage analyst.
Yeah.
I would keep it a little bit brief, any appearance that he might have. You want to preserve the idea that he's a professional wrestler, a huge star. I think he can be normalized quite quickly if they go that route. I know he says his mouth still works, but yeah, maybe for a big match here and there, like whatever Drew's doing at Mania, keep that in the mix. Absolutely. I'm just still a bit gutted that he got injured. Like, he was so great in that exchange with Cody Rhodes in particular. Just added a new dimension to WWE programming, so come back as quickly as you can.
Yeah, get well soon.
Get well soon. So switching gears now, to speaking about WWE commentary, we're going to switch gears now to Orange Cassidy, who at Rev Pro High Stakes Oku versus Ospreay made a shock defense of his international title in a 7-way match, also involving, wait there, bear with me while I get my notes. Need to get my notes here because I'm not going to remember all of these names. So in an impromptu 7-way, you should hear the pop, by the way, an absolutely enormous pop for Orange Cassidy. He successfully, of course, defended that international title against Shah Samuels, Flash Morgan Webster, Spike Tribbett, Richard Holiday, Cameron Kai, and Shihiro Iri. And the match was well received. Again, if you can scour X, if you can brave that swamp, it probably is worth, just for the pop alone, it is enormous. It's like 2,000 people, which is obviously incredibly respectable for a UK indie. And all of them absolutely lose their minds. That show, of course, was headlined by Oku versus Ospreay. I have not had the chance to watch it yet. I will make time to do that this afternoon. But time to play the game. I've got this thing where I can speak Dave I almost more than half the time, where I can go on Observer Radio or go on his Twitter, and he'll never obviously give the star rating away until the Observer. It's kind of a selling point. But I can, phenomenal usually means 5. Nowadays, if it's a match of the year candidate, or you'll struggle to beat that this year, you're looking at between 5 and 5.5. If he says things close to, this is one of the best things you'll ever see, or that kind of thing, you're going above 5.5 to 5.25. Now, Dave on Oku and Ospreay, because this Orange Cassidy thing's not really a story, for being completely honest, said that as of last week, there was one match, and he was referring to Danielson ZSJ2, that will struggle to get beaten in terms of match of the year. Then he said, in a week, that's been blown away. He said that Obviously, technically, ZSJ versus Danielson 2 was better, but in terms of heat, drama, emotion, and storytelling, this was in a stratosphere above almost anything. He subsequently followed up on Wrestling Observer's website, FOW Online, that he can't even find the words to describe how great this match was. I don't think he'll go 7. I don't think he'll go 7 or over. I'm thinking he'll go 6.5 for this. 6.25 or 6.5. I'm thinking, this is recorded on Monday, 6.5 he'll go for that. Do you want to play the game?
I'll play the game. Based on everything you've described, because I haven't seen the match either.
Yes.
I'll take 6.25.
6.25. That's his usual. Best thing you'll ever see. That isn't this outlier.
Yes. But it's obviously, and it's not obviously Ospreay's farewell, because presumably when he's over here, he's got this great bonding relationship with Rev Pro. I'm sure if he can, he will. It's that sort of thing. But it was a farewell of sorts, because he had the AEW jacket on at the end. He's preparing to make his debut. I think it's not.
There's a really cool moment in the post match, which I will not spoil if you haven't got around to it yet.
It's interesting, obviously, with Cassidy making the special guest appearance. Tony Khan was apparently in attendance. You've got this Ospreay, like, this is the bridge to his AEW start. It does raise some interesting conversation about Rev Pro and All Elite Wrestling. Rev Pro worked previously with New Japan very closely, held a good relationship. New Japan now with AEW. It makes sense that all of these companies are coming together. AEW has yet to really find a kind of independent home base in the UK, and it felt like they were doing that at this show. They'll be back in London, obviously. For
Jericho obviously appeared in last year's show.
That's right,
that was angle to build the Ospreay match at All In.
So it does feel like these yet more relationships are being built, and it probably bodes well, I think, for this is going, speculation, obviously. This will certainly look and feel different to WWE's own relationships with the UK indies in sort of 2017,
One would
2018.
hope so. One would hope so.
Yeah, in terms of like talent funneling, could be some interesting things coming off the back of this. We have to switch gears again here to a sort of controversial one. Velveteen Dream, or Patrick Clark, obviously Patrick Velveteen Dream Clark, as I guess he'll go by, made his return to wrestling on Saturday night. It was for a small independent promotion in upstate New York. The event was subtitled "It Was All a Dream," so there was obviously the kind of implied secret that he was going to appear, and he did. He came out with pretty much with his NXT character presentation. And for those that might not be aware, since he was released all the way back in 2021, this has courted some controversy, as there was various allegations of the time of grooming, of sexual assault. He denied all of those allegations. WWE initially de-emphasised the character completely, where he was off television for quite some time before eventually releasing him. Again, this was all back in 2021. Back in August 2021, he was arrested twice in a 6-day span for both battery and then drug charges. Time passes, and then we get to late 2023 when he posts an apology video taking, quote, full accountability for his actions without actually addressing the actions. And then earlier this year, he was in an hour-long interview with Chris Van Vliet. Previously, WWE sources who went unnamed said, quote, it would take a miracle to see him back in WWE. But wrestling being wrestling, people do return with allegations and with stories around them. I guess there's not too much more to add on that one, but the fact that he has returned is the story.
Yeah, I've got two things to say on this. Number one, at an absolute minimum, if you must, and you're a promoter, feel the need to do something like this, advertise it at an absolute minimum. The second thing I want to say is that I will never, ever, ever go and watch that match. Have you got anything else to say, or should I dive into the full story? Not an absolute thing. The last story is that Fightful Select have come through with a report on a vanished AEW star. Now, because of the large, supersized rotating cast, if you do see a wrestler go missing for a long time, usually it doesn't really feel like anything out of the ordinary. There is just the ratio of talent to TV time, which is completely disproportionate. But Nick Comoroto was backstage at the recent Dynamite taping, was it? Collision taping, sorry. Forgive me for that one. Yeah, backstage at a Collision taping. He last wrestled for AEW back in October. There is apparently no story, even though we are filming it. The actual reality is that, as a guy who probably needs some more reps or whatever, when there's a lot of stars to accommodate, there simply isn't creative for him, and that remains the case. Yeah, Comoroto, he's another one on this long list of guys who is pretty much there to do jobs now. And it doesn't seem like there's a way forward for him to do anything of substance in AEW. So who the goddamn hell knows what's next for his career?
It's a massive roster, isn't it?
It's too big.
Like it
is too big.
You mentioned about transparency with injuries, and you can't obviously offer transparency on people that have disappeared because, for all we would know from the outside, there's creative plans on the inside. But nonetheless, it is just striking how many names you could go down on that roster page and just pick at random and say, "Oh yeah, what are they doing? Where are they? Where are they?" It used to be.
It's easy to forget that they exist.
Yeah, it used to be that you could look at the Darker Elevation Vortex, and to be fair, that was broadcast online. You just had to go and search it out. Without those, you are more exposed, I would say, to that roster than ever because Rampage still has an audience. Collision does all right on a Saturday. It's striking how many wrestlers you could apply this same story to.
Yes, absolutely. I've often said that it's greedy, impulsive, this recruitment policy. It has no sort of long-term aim. It's very, very short-sighted. I don't know how this gets corrected going forward, but certainly it's an issue, especially if you're one of the affected talents. I mean, you cannot get on television for love nor money. Your level of experience possibly doesn't merit it, considering how many unbelievable top names are signed to that promotion currently. There must be a solution soon because it just seems such a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah. Should we waste some more of their time by asking some questions?
Indeed.
Let's do it. We'll start with something to do with SmackDown on Friday, and if you want to watch a full review with the Dudley Boys this afternoon, you can do so on our What Culture Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel. But Hank McCoy at Jops23 asks, after seeing the crowd's reaction to The Rock on SmackDown, do you think sometimes we'll cheer him and Roman Reigns? And do you think Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins should play situational heels for those night #Killers in the Jungle?
I mean, until you said those immortal words, Killers in the Jungle, I'm sorry, is like the coolest nickname. I'm a big fan of that. Under no circumstances should Cody Rhodes play situational heel when he is as hot as he is. Obviously, WWE have ran the risk of splitting that audience because, I mean, we saw evidence of it during that segment on SmackDown. Like, The Rock specifically instructed them to, and I love this coming back, do not play Sing Along with the Champ, but if you're in that building, the man is irresistible. He has got a level of charisma that might just be unprecedented in the history of professional wrestling. You can't get bored of The Rock. You can't really do a hijack against The Rock. He's just in person so unbelievably charismatic. So yeah, it is a bit of a risk, but yeah, there's no need to play situational heel for Cody and or Seth. Seth might get some backdraft, if I'm being honest. But no need to play situational heel for Cody. Only until all of this has been completely exhausted would you entertain the idea of situating Cody Rhodes as a heel in any context whatsoever. I'm looking at those house show numbers that they are drawing with Cody on top, with Cody basically telling you, I'm your guy, I'm coming out, I'll be on top of the marquee, I'll give you a show. People want to go and see that show, so I wouldn't muddy those waters any further.
It struck me on SmackDown that we need to change old vernacular, not least because one of it was Vince McMahon's, but the old airport test needs to be replaced with the Rock test. He's bigger than an airport, and Roman Reigns is currently failing the Rock test.
Yeah.
Whereas Cody Rhodes, the babyface, pretty much passed.
Yeah.
They met together in the ring, and people very literally said, "We want Cody."
We want Cody.
So the Rock test, I think, should be the new litmus test for wrestlers as stars. Question regarding one of our favourite acts at the moment, Sige, from Jack Duncan at Jack B. Duncan. Now Bron Breakker has been promoted to the main roster, do you see him and Corbin still being together and defending the NXT tag team titles to give the SmackDown team something to fight for, being that the belts are mostly on Raw? Thank you very much. Thank you for your question, Jack.
Yes, I've got absolutely no idea, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know what they're going to do. At this point, I don't know what they should do. It's all very strange, this, because it was originally reported that Bron Breakker had filled the role originally envisaged, I cannot speak the date, for Brock at the Royal Rumble. So you'd think, right, okay, they don't want to alter the Mania plans for Gunther, because that's who Brock Lesnar was originally rumoured or heavily reported to work. So it felt like a like-for-like replacement, and now that replacement is going to SmackDown and not Raw, away from Gunther. I've got no idea. What I will say is that it might not be that much of a disaster, because this sense of these two kind of cartoonish masculine egos, and that's the beauty of the Wolf Dogs. If you don't watch NXT, watch it for them, they're amazing. Coming together, this slow kind of, we kind of really like each other, we want to be bros, we want to be mates, but it's like, it's not really bro stuff to admit that
No,
out
yeah.
loud. It's a great bit of
That's like our
chemistry.
feelings.
Yeah, feelings suck, but you kind of rule action. Feelings bad, but I know I like you. That could continue with this wedge driven between them of Braun having the SmackDown contract. So maybe storyline wise, it will work out and he can preserve that brilliant Wolf Dogs dynamic. So yeah, I would keep that. I would keep Braun can do double duty, of course he can. Obviously the Wolf Dogs can lose the titles at some point, then there can be a separation. I personally would just have the Wolf Dogs on the main roster. They're incredible. But no, you can continue the story. It's one story I don't want to finish.
Yeah.
This wonderful chemistry between the Wolf Dogs on NXT. If anything, it's even better now that there's a proper wedge between them.
Well, we'll stick with NXT and call-ups and the like. Maybe it's call-up season or WrestleMania or whatever. But Goku Garg, I apologise if I butchered your name there, at GKLGRG, has been on to ask, how would you call up and book Dragunov on the main roster? Straight into the Gunther feud or something else? I'd love to see a four-way between him, Gunther, Rhodes and Rollins somewhere down the line.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't. I'm not a big fan of four-way matches. I mean, that one would be tits. It would be tits. With Dragunov is so weird because he kind of doesn't he doesn't really belong in WWE, and yet he's one of the best wrestlers, if not the very best wrestler in WWE. He just in NXT, it's like it's such a weird, wild juxtaposition. Not only in terms of his ability level, but the tone that he brings, that just ungodly intensity in a cartoon world. He makes it work because he's so undeniably talented.
We have to... He took a shoot punch in the head.
Yes.
On the same show where he won a match when his opponent got hit with a boxing glove on a stick.
That just underscores it.
That happened.
That happened. Dragunov is so awesome that I think, if anything, this NXT run has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can literally succeed anywhere, because it's like this weird test of, can you exist in the place where you don't belong? Yes, and you can thrive there. It's so basic, but I mean, the Walter Gunther Dragunov series has never been done in a massive arena, and it's so basic to just suggest, you know what, why don't you recontextualize the best match potentially in WWE history, or one of them, and then put it in front of like 15,000 fans. I mean, it sounds like a total winner to me.
Yeah.
A complete and utter winner.
It's a touch reductive to just use Gunther as the comparison, isn't it? But because Gunther has succeeded, that creates an argument for how Dragunov can work. But equally, it might be that within WWE's fairly tight restrictions of what they consider a star, there's only space for one like that. They are different men that offer different skills, but can you have two?
Yeah, Dragunov is a heel because he just cannot and will not be put down against Cody Rhodes as your top babyface, who in WWE's eyes, they don't submit, they don't quit, they barely show vulnerability and all the rest of it. Cody Rhodes versus Ilya Dragunov as a heel would be an incredible summer program, because Cody's going to need them.
Yeah. What do you think of Ilya Dragunov in WWE, Braun Breaker, The Rock, and everything else? Let us know in the comments below. Watch this video here-ish, and until next time, we will see you soon.